Former disc jockey Richard Turnbull, his wife Sarah and their 3-year-old son Gregory have ditched their Yorkshire semi and run off to an olive farm in the Tuscan hills. Realising they can't live on olive oil alone, they've converted half of the farmhouse and an old chestnut barn into holiday lets. But their first ever guests were so underwhelmed by the accommodation, they stayed just 2 nights of their 1-week holiday.
Sorry it's not turned out to be as you wanted, and I apologise for the Tuscan weather.
It's a cup of tea.
Now, with their second child expected, money's getting tighter. If Richard and Sarah can't make their holiday business work, they'll soon be back in Yorkshire. They've got 2 new sets of guests on their way. It's make or break time.
I am a bit nervous now. Please like it. Please be pleased.
When Richard and Sarah's first guests jumped ship, they left behind a list of complaints. One of their main concerns was access to the property. Casa del Sole is perched majestically on a hillside, 1,000 feet above the valley. But this has practical drawbacks. First, guests have to negotiate a narrow track with 6 heart-stopping hairpin bends. After parking the car, they have to trudge on foot with their luggage up a steep, muddy path. You need a holiday after that. The obvious answer is a completely new road. But Richard and Sarah need a cheaper alternative. Scraping together their last euros, they're off in search of an all-terrain vehicle that will make the journey for the guests and their luggage slightly easier.
Okay, we've got new and used. What would you like to look at?
I'd like to look at the new.
Let's look at it. Should we look at the new first because
Okay.
it's so pretty?
But I think we'll have to look at something second
Let's take a look at the new and then right, there's a used one here outside. Well, you gotta try it out too, because you know, I'm sure you're gonna be greeting guests.
That's how I go. Andiamo! Did you like it? Can we go again?
Oh yeah.
I think you got yourself a customer.
Yeah, great.
Oh, fantastic.
6,000 euros is virtually all their spare cash, but it's an essential purchase. Back on the farm, preparations are underway for the guests' arrival this afternoon. With Sarah now 6 months pregnant, odd job man Andre has been drafted in.
Today we've got the second lot of people coming in the Chestnut House, and we are hoping it's going to be a little bit more successful than the last lot. I am a bit nervous now. Please like it. Please be pleased.
Up at the farmhouse, Richard's new toy is already broken.
It's got a flat tyre, so not going great at the moment.
He hasn't got the right tools for the job. Luckily, Alfonso, the plumber, has a set of spanners for all occasions.
Alfonso's putting the tyre back on for us, and in just reward for his efforts, I'm going to give him a lift down to his car so he doesn't have to carry his toolbox down at the end of a hard day's work.
But before they've even reached the main road, disastro.
Another flat tyre, we just got one mended, and the front tyre's flat. Blimey! Not trouble that's bloody worth this thing.
There's no way they can fix the truck before the guests arrive, and the hot new investment isn't looking too sound. The guests, David and Elaine, have to make their own way up the hill.
There's no secret to anything. If you can light a fire, then you're fine there. Your water heater is up there. It takes about a quarter of an hour to heat the water up. Okay, anything you need me for, just give me a shout. Gregory, come out.
Oh, he's
he gone?
way up the track.
Oh,
there.
good, that's all right then. Okay. See you
All right
later.
then, see you later.
It's great. They found it in the instructions, and They even followed the signs to the chestnut house rather than coming up to the mess of the farmhouse. So it's great. Fantastic.
One down, one to go. Tomorrow, the first farmhouse guests will be arriving. Richard, Sarah and Gregory will have to vacate the delightfully modernised side of the building and step back into another century. The dilapidated half of the house with its primitive sanitation and open-air cooking facilities. It's just 13 feet away, but a world apart from the comforts of family life.
Oh, we need a bigger house.
Then it's scrubbing and scouring to get the accommodation ready for the guests. Sarah is keen to get everything just so. But unfortunately, it's Richard who's got the ladder and the drill.
Thank you.
Oh, it's not high enough. What are you like?
I see a design fault becoming obvious now.
Yes, I blame your mother.
I can see where you're coming from with that.
Down at the Chestnut House, David and Elaine settle down to sunset with a glass of something local.
It's just beautifully presented in an idyllic location. Already within half an hour of being here, I have unwound completely. And I'm looking forward to this week. It's going to be super.
The morning finds Sarah on the doorstep, waiting for the very first farmhouse guests. The atmosphere of nervous anticipation has spread to every spruce corner of the house. Even the big green trucks decided to behave itself.
Are they coming? Are they walking?
Yeah,
Where are they
they're
parked?
walking. Just on the first bend.
On the corner. Good.
Shall I pull this forward a bit? Brought a bit of stuff with them.
Mummy!
Well, they're staying for 3 weeks.
Yes, I know.
Hello, darling. Hi, Nikki.
Hi. It's lovely to meet you, love.
This is Italy now, we do too. Hello, darling. I'll show you. It's just this switch here. You push it back in if it's popped out. And if it hasn't popped out, then it's something more serious. Bedroom 1.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
I know, it's very pretty. Right, we'll leave you to it.
Reluctantly leaving the Lowe family to unpack, Richard and Sarah slink next door to their glorified shed.
Now it all looks beautiful in there. I was a bit miffed. It's just dawned on me that we don't have a cooker, we don't have a toilet, we don't have a shower, we don't have anywhere to sit down.
And it's back to the challenge of the organic outside loo with the sawdust flush. Martin and Nikki Lowe have booked the farmhouse for 3 weeks, but they're not just here for a holiday.
We've been wanting to come to Italy for a few years, haven't we, or move somewhere abroad, and we've fallen in love with Italy. We're going to have a really good look round and see if it's, you know, the place for us, and we're going to have a look at trying to find a place of our own here.
With all the guests settled, Richard and Sarah decide it's worth a modest celebration. So out comes the ice cream.
What is it?
Buon appetito.
Handy Andre gets 2 scoops as thanks for all his help.
Now, you know, the hard work is paid off, and all the little finishing touches are really against a backdrop of a house that's been transformed, and it's really beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. Wish I lived here. We do.
Yeah, we live in the grotty bit.
Yeah. The second day of the Lowe's trip. Gregory helps little Anna settle in. In fact, he's helping everybody settle in, whether they like it or not.
Just caught Gregory taking Anna down to show him the people in the Chestnut's house bedroom.
Oh, God. He doesn't quite get it that he can't just march in and say hello. So he's just going in and out of everybody's house, thinking it's great. Little Lord Gregory.
Martin and Nikki have invited Richard and Sarah round to the comfort of their farmhouse to pick their brains about finding a Tuscan property.
We've been on the internet, haven't we, a few times, but
yes,
it does seem
a lot.
You don't really see what you're getting, it just seems expensive.
Yeah.
What kind of house are you looking for? Are you?
Really, we're looking for somewhere rural, somewhere out in, well, not completely in the sticks, but somewhere which is close to the amenities, but also, you know, somewhere with some land, basically. I spend as much time as I can in the back garden, but to have some space would be a dream come true. It really would.
Similar to yours, really.
Yeah.
And somewhere, you know, with an added-on annex or something.
Are you wanting to make some money out of the house, like we're doing, renting?
Yes, we've always looked at that. We've been looking for something like that.
To help get them on their way, Richard has agreed to accompany them on their first viewing with an Italian estate agent. Italy has become a hotspot for Brits seeking a new life abroad, with a 50% growth in demand for homes over the past year. And the Lows are keen to join the 3,000 expats now living in Tuscany. Martin and Nikki have a budget of £130,000. They've asked to see farmhouses with land. But, like estate agents everywhere, this one's showing them a 3-bedroom townhouse in bustling Collodi.
Little bathroom there. Did you see the bathroom?
Yes, yes.
Just in there. That's a nice feature.
It is. His radiators all
Richard's Italian is proving useful.
Ogni stanza?
Ogni stanza ha il suo radiatore.
But Martin and Nikki were looking for something with vines rather than wine racks.
I was expecting a bit more, to be honest. Not so much built up as well. We want somewhere which has got some land around it, surrounding the property, rather than it being joined onto other buildings.
Back at the farmhouse, Sarah's had a phone call from her Italian gynecologist about her last scan. It's worrying news.
Yeah. There's shading round the left ventricle of the baby's heart, which could or could not indicate that there's some sort of problem. I don't know what it is, and she couldn't even tell me. So this time it's not actually it's not a language thing. It's just that she doesn't know. Never goes smoothly, does it? Last week I was worrying that I was having a boy rather than a girl, and now I feel so guilty. I feel terrible. Such a terrible thing to have said.
Richard and Sarah have made the hour-long trip to the specialist antenatal unit at the University Hospital in Florence. Today, Sarah, now 6 months pregnant, will be given a more thorough scan to see whether their baby has a heart defect. Sarah's conversational Italian is pretty good, but medical jargon's another matter, and the doctor doesn't speak any English. The scanning equipment at the unit is the best available in the region. It gives the doctor a closely detailed picture of the baby's heart. The specialist gives his verdict. The original scan, it turns out, was inaccurate. Their baby is totally fit and healthy.
Tutto bene, grazie. It's such an incredible relief, isn't it?
Yeah, they've really looked at everything, and it is tutto bene. And that's just brilliant. It's just really fantastic.
Back at Casa del Sole, the Lowe family are finding their lack of Italian a stumbling block.
you know, it's fine finding immobiliers like the estate agents over here, but you go in the window, there's all cards, and it's just all in Italian. So there we were, we get our dictionaries out trying to translate everything, then you keep coming up with new words and you have to go back. And when you actually go in, if they haven't got anything in the window, because they haven't got obviously everything in the window, you go in and talk to them, they don't speak English.
Since Richard's too busy to act as translator for his guests, he's found them the next best thing, advertised in the expats newsletter. Enter Max, estate agent extraordinaire. From his Gucci's to his Rolex, he's chic, he's suave, and he speaks English. He has a property they'll adore at a price they simply cannot refuse. It's a traditional Tuscan farmhouse with 3 bedrooms, 3 acres of olive trees, and a small outhouse for conversion. On the market for a mere £125,000, surely only a crazy person would walk away.
The basin, this basin.
Oh, right.
Is the end of the 19th century.
Yeah.
End of the 19th century. And the fireplace too. Because the area of Pescia was very important for the stone, for this kind of stone.
However, even Max can't put an estate agent's spin on the reality.
Yeah.
Here.
There's no heating system, there's some radical restoration work that needs to be done.
It needs completely to be restored.
Yes.
It's like a, I don't know, a storeroom.
Yeah, it needs
yes, are broken.
waterproofing. Yeah.
Yes, maybe they are broken.
And the tiny bathroom is hardly at the cutting edge of Italian design.
Holiday.
Yes.
Yes, it's Friday. Venerdì è festa, vero?
Eventually, even Max concedes defeat.
It needs a heating system, it needs an insulation of the roof, and the building of the bathrooms. This is the best working.
Yes.
Important working.
The olive groves have lain neglected for years. They too will need serious attention. Martin and Nicky don't seem too keen, but Max knows the score. These English are all the same.
There's a stereotype of the Tuscan dream. There's the farmhouse at the top of the hill, completely secluded, with a wonderful view. You can find the right property, and you can find it with all the details you want, but when you put all the things together, something changes, and the price will change for sure. Yeah, take a look there.
The Lows want the Tuscan dream, but they also want a proper bathroom and push-button heating. £130,000, it turns out, buys less than they'd imagined.
A lot of places that we can afford, they need totally renovating. We thought maybe they might be a bit habitable, and we might be able to renovate one room or another 2 or 3 rooms, but no.
You haven't always got gas, or you haven't always got electricity, water.
All this makes Richard and Sarah's Casa del Sole seem like a snip at £120,000. But they've had to put in back-breaking hours to restore the property and resuscitate the farm.
We realise now, talking to Richard, that it's a lot of hard work.
It's a full-time job. We're up at 5 in the morning in the summertime. We're working through until it's too hot to work. Then we're working again at night until it's too dark to work. You know, it isn't a Sunday afternoon out with the sort of little kneeling mat and the fork kind of job, but I think that's what a lot of people think it is.
Richard and Sarah need to push on with the next stage of their grand plan. Even if fully booked for the tourist season each year, they'll still be struggling unless they can get more income from their land.
No, I'm not looking, I'm just, whoops, just turning the earth over.
We've got enough to make a good income from the land here, were it managed and developed properly, and that's what we need to work on now.
They've discovered a big potential source of income, the EU.
There are grants available just for people to work the land, and it can be in the region of sort of £10,000 to £20,000.
But before they can get their hands on any hard cash, Richard and Sarah have to be assessed for their Italian farmer's license by an agronomist. Friend and fellow expat Tony has already had his farm approved. He's offered to act as guide and advisor for the inspection by government agronomist Leonardo. First in line for Leonardo's critical eye are the olive groves.
It
doesn't look good.
Leonardo's saying some of these trees that we've got are far too high, are far too big, and not going to produce, they're not going to be manageable. We're not going to be able to get into these trees. So what Leonardo's saying is these trees really need sort of major 6 or 7 feet, chopping off them.
That's not the only problem. Leonardo explains that to be granted a farmer's license, Sarah and Richard will have to clock up 180 days of work per year on the land. At the moment, their 350 olive trees only equate to just 75 days' worth of labour, less than half the days they need to qualify. They don't currently make the grade. Leonardo can't give them a license.
You're kind of like tourists at the moment as far as the farming world is concerned. You've just got a nice house in the country.
But he does have a suggestion.
Around 250 more olives would be really helpful for your application.
Yeah.
As well as planting extra olive trees, they could generate more labour days by installing sheep on the farm.
If you have to have a lot of sheep, a huge flock, then maybe not. But if just sort of having 3 sheep will give you an extra day's work, then 3 sheep it is.
If Richard and Sarah take on board Leonardo's recommendations, they could get their farmer's licence and be eligible for around 15,000 euros extra income next year.
At the end of the day, financial assistance is crucial. If we can get these grants, if we can get these loans, everything's going to help us make this a viable proposition, make it a going concern.
So it's noses to the grindstone. Richard and an increasingly pregnant Sarah roll their sleeves up and set to. As Sarah plants and nurtures, Richard gears up for the Tuscan Chainsaw Massacre. And, as usual, his enthusiasm gets the better of him.
I've just come for a little walk to have a look at my potatoes. And I've just realised Richard has taken the chainsaw to our prize bloody hazelnut tree. He's chopped the whole thing down. I've actually lost to Richard and his chopping, mowing, strimming tendencies. A whole huge strawberry patch, a baby gooseberry bush that I planted, and he trimmed the rhubarb patch. I was just like, oh God, no. He's so gonna get it. What was he thinking? Don't you put that right down. We got a big tub of hazelnuts last year.
We're going to use the hazel for something far better.
You knew you were chopping down a hazelnut tree. If you're chopping anything alive down, I want to know about it. Not that there is anything much left.
To stand any chance of bagging the much-needed EU cash, Richard and Sarah will have to work harder and coordinate their efforts on the land. The next gamble in becoming accredited farmers, buying livestock.
If you feel a hard lump, you just say you don't want it.
And as the heat of the Tuscan summer kicks in, the pressure of juggling farm work with the holiday business pushes their relationship to the limit.
Why aren't they planting?
There's another double bill of No Going Back tomorrow at 5. But next up, recreating the raid from 60 years ago and remembering a brave squadron of hotshots. It's a double documentary on the Dam Busters.